What is a federal election crime and what's not? Anastasia Bolton spoke to the FBI in Houston to make sure you know what the agency will investigate and when you should call or email them.
Incorrect information is starting to circulate on social media. Call the FBI if you see this. Your best source for what to call them about is the FBI itself, their website, their Facebook, and their Twitter. The Bureau investigates violations of federal election laws in the United States.
It's a civil rights violation. If somebody's right to vote is being impacted some way that where they cannot vote, either through force or threat of force or scheme, that would be a federal crime that we would be involved with. An individual who voted multiple times would be another federal violation. Paying someone to vote or paying for somebody's vote would be a violation.
The FBI says the following are not federal election crimes.
Campaigning too close to the polling site, driving a person to the voting site, or their employer giving them a day off to vote. We wouldn't investigate that. A candidate that's trying to convince another candidate to quit the race or quit their campaign.
You won't see an FBI agent working the polls, not their job. They will be there to vote, but that's it. To cover the entire state, the FBI has 4 offices in Texas, Dallas, El Paso, Houston, and San Antonio. If you see issues that rise to the level of a federal elections crime, the Bureau says call or email the office near you. I'm Anastasia Bolton.
The FBI says it is really up to the state to run elections and operate polling locations. If you're concerned about possible violations of state or local election laws, please reach out to local law enforcement.